All right, welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive.
Always happy to be here.
Today, we're going super old school, Old Testament,
Oh,
Leviticus chapter 26.
mm,
And we're using the King James Version of the Bible for this one.
sounds good.
This chapter is really interesting because it lays out like
Yeah.
a roadmap, but instead of directions, like to a coffee shop or something,
Right.
it's like a roadmap to blessings and curses,
Mm,
all tied to obedience to God.
yeah, I can see that.
And one thing that always gets me is
Yeah.
how vivid the language is. It's like super visual and specific,
Oh, yeah,
almost like you can picture yourself there with the ancient Israelites.
right. You're really experiencing it alongside them.
Totally. So let's jump into the blessings first,
Okay.
the good stuff. It paints this incredible picture of abundance, overflowing harvests and peace in the land, even having so much food
Wow.
that you're like literally eating last year's stores.
Oh, wow.
Because this year's harvest is overflowing. Like, what comes to mind for you when you read these descriptions?
Well, it's just striking
Yeah.
how this abundance points to something much deeper
Oh,
than just material wealth. It
Well,
represents shalom.
shalom.
Yeah, it's a Hebrew concept encompassing peace, wholeness,
Okay.
relationship with God and community.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about having lots of food or anything. It's about society just thriving on every level.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I think we often crave that sense of shalom today,
Right.
even if we don't use that word.
Right.
Like, we want peace. We want meaningful connections. We want to feel like we're
Yeah.
living in alignment with our values. But then the chapter takes this sharp turn, right? It's like
Oh, yeah.
almost like a horror movie where everything goes from idyllic to super terrifying.
Yeah, the tone really shifts dramatically.
Yeah.
And they describe the curses with
Yeah.
really vivid language too, disease, famine, war,
Oh, yeah.
even cannibalism.
Yeah, it gets really dark.
These weren't just empty threats, though. These were real possibilities.
Yeah.
They reflect the harsh realities back then,
Mm-hmm.
where disobedience could lead to societal collapse and suffering.
Yeah, and I notice how the curses
Yeah.
directly mirror the blessings, almost like an inversion.
Oh, interesting.
So abundance becomes famine, peace
Right.
turns into terror, safety is replaced with like total vulnerability.
Right.
It's almost poetic in a way, but definitely not the kind of poetry you want to live through.
Exactly. It really emphasizes the direct link between what you do and what happens because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where understanding God's character becomes super important.
Okay.
He's presented as both just and merciful.
Oh, that's
He
interesting.
sets boundaries and consequences,
Mm-hmm.
but there's still hope, even amidst the curses.
Almost like he's saying, look, this is the path to destruction, but I still love you.
Exactly.
And I'm willing to welcome you back if you choose a different way.
Yeah. Leviticus 26.40 or 42 talks about God's willingness to forgive, to remember his covenant. But the people have to confess what they did wrong
Right.
and humble themselves. It's not just about punishment.
Yeah.
It's about getting back to how things should be. It's about God wanting his people to thrive
Mm-hmm.
even when they mess up.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about a God who is both just and merciful,
Right.
which seems like a contradiction at first. So how do you reconcile those two,
You sure?
especially when you consider those
Yeah.
intense curses we were just discussing?
Yeah, that's a question that theologians have thought about for centuries.
Really?
Yeah, but what's important to remember in this context
Okay.
is that justice isn't just about punishment.
Oh, interesting.
It's about maintaining the balance of the covenant,
Yeah.
the agreement
No.
between God and his people.
Yeah.
So the curses are what happens when you mess up that balance.
So it's like if you break the rules of a game,
Uh-huh.
there are penalties.
Yeah.
But in this case, the stakes are a lot higher.
Right.
It's not just about like
Yeah.
losing points or something.
Yeah. No, it's about your well-being
Right.
and the well-being of your entire community.
And just like there are consequences for breaking the covenant,
Mm-hmm.
there's also that pathway back.
Yeah.
Repentance.
Yes, exactly. Leviticus makes it clear that God doesn't want to punish people.
No.
He wants to reconcile.
Okay, so repentance isn't just about feeling bad for messing up.
Not at all.
It's more about,
It's about turning away from the harmful stuff
okay,
and making an effort to realign with, the principles of the covenant.
so acknowledging your mistakes,
Yeah.
taking responsibility, and then choosing a different path.
Right. And that's what opens the door to
Oh.
those blessings we talked about.
I see. And it's interesting how this whole idea of repentance,
Yeah.
it resonates even outside of religion.
That's true.
Like if you think about personal growth
Mm-hmm.
or even making amends in a relationship,
Right.
even in society, like addressing injustices.
It really is a universal human experience. We all mess up and stray from our values sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But the important thing is recognizing it
Right.
and having the courage to change course.
Yeah.
But you mentioned systemic injustices.
Yeah.
Do you think like a whole society can be cursed because of what they do or don't do?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It makes me think about all the big problems like environmental issues and economic inequality, all that stuff. It's like we've strayed so far
Yeah.
that we're facing the consequences as a whole planet.
It's definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
And just like individual repentance can restore a person,
Yeah.
maybe collective repentance can address these bigger problems,
Yeah.
a change in values and actions.
So how does faith play into all this?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean,
Leviticus is based on a specific belief system.
right. But maybe instead of faith being about believing in a certain God,
Yeah.
we can think of it as having faith in something bigger than ourselves,
Okay.
like a set of principles or a moral code, even faith in humanity to be good.
Yeah, I like that. Aligning your actions
Yeah.
with those deeper values.
Mm-hmm.
It's about believing that those choices actually matter,
Exactly.
that they shape not just you, but the world.
Yes, it's empowering, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that even small acts of kindness,
Or compassion,
yeah, even those can create change.
like planting seeds of blessing. But on the other hand,
Mm-hmm.
if we keep making choices that only benefit us
Yeah,
or that hurt others, are we basically inviting those curses?
that's a really powerful way to put it.
Yeah.
And it gets to the core of what Leviticus is trying to tell us.
Yeah.
It's not about blindly following the rules.
No.
It's about understanding that our choices have consequences
Yeah. Yeah.
and that we have the power to choose.
So it's not about fearing punishment
Right.
or expecting a reward for every good thing we do.
No, it's about living
Yeah.
according to values that lead to, individual and collective good.
Exactly. And knowing that even when we mess up, we can always course correct
Yes, there's always a chance to get back on track.
to start planting those seeds of blessing again.
Exactly.
But how do we actually do that? How do we take these old ideas and apply them to our lives today?
That's where the real work begins.
Yeah, because let's be real.
Yeah.
It's not always easy to know the right thing to do,
No.
especially with so many conflicting messages and priorities.
That's something we'll talk about
Okay.
in the last part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll discuss how to figure out what's right, how to navigate tough choices,
Yeah.
and how to make decisions that lead to a better world for everyone.
Welcome back, everyone. This Leviticus 26 deep dive. It's really got me thinking about the choices we make and how they, impact everything.
It really is fascinating, isn't it? We started with this ancient text about blessings and curses, and now we're talking about global issues and the power of our own actions.
Right. How do we actually apply these old ideas to our lives now? Where do we even start?
Well, I think the first thing is to kind of shift her perspective.
Okay.
Instead of looking at Leviticus as just a bunch of rules, let's see it as a way to understand how our actions and consequences are connected. Like it's pointing us towards shalom.
Okay. I like that. Like a compass.
Exactly.
A life's not always straightforward.
Yeah.
So how do we actually use this compass
Yeah.
to navigate all the,
The twists and turns.
the gray areas where it's not so clear what's right?
That's where discernment comes in.
Discernment.
It's not just about having a list of rules. It's about understanding each situation. Like what could happen because of what we do.
And the values we want to guide us.
Exactly. It's like working out a muscle.
Oh, interesting.
The more we practice making good choices, the stronger it gets. And the better we are at dealing with tough situations.
Makes sense. And that's where repentance is so important, right?
Yeah.
From Leviticus.
Exactly. We all mess up sometimes. We all make choices that
Yeah.
we wish we hadn't. But it's never too late to fix things, to make amends and get back on the right path.
Okay, that's good to hear. Because I'm sure we've all made choices we regret. Choices that have hurt others,
Of course. But repentance is about acknowledging those mistakes, learning from them, and moving on.
And you were saying before that repentance can happen on a bigger scale too, right?
Absolutely. Think about things like social justice movements or working to fix the environment, even efforts to bring people together in politics. Those are all forms of collective repentance.
Like recognizing past wrongs and trying to create a better future.
Exactly. We have this incredible power to change things, not just for ourselves, but for everyone.
Yeah, can be a little intimidating.
It is. But we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to become saints overnight.
Right.
Even small acts of kindness and compassion can make a difference.
But it's not about being morally perfect.
No.
It's about the choices we make every day.
Yes, how we treat others,
Right.
how we use resources, how we participate in our communities.
And thinking about the impact of those choices.
Right. Exactly. And being willing to keep learning and growing.
Yeah, because finding shalom, it's a lifelong journey, right?
It is. It's about constantly discerning what's right, repenting when we make mistakes, and aligning our actions with our values.
This deep dive has been amazing. We started with this old text about blessings and curses and ended up talking about so much more.
And I think that's why these ancient texts are so valuable. They help us understand ourselves and the world around us.
I want to leave our listeners with a question.
Okay.
If Leviticus is like a compass pointing us toward shalom, where's your compass pointing you right now? What can you do today, even something small, to bring more blessing into your life and the world? Thanks for joining us on this journey. Keep those minds curious, those hearts open, and those compasses pointed toward shalom.